Hello, this is Pixel Freak, and today I'm taking a look at a game called Evertales. This game was released last week on Android by Crescent Moon Games, who seems to be releasing a ton of games recently. This one's been out on iTunes now for about a year or so, and it's going for $2 right now on both stores. There are some in-app purchases, so be warned there, but I have played through the entire game and I didn't have to use them, nor did I have to grind, so I'm not sure exactly why they're there. Let's go ahead and jump into the game and I'll show you how it breaks down. In Evertales, you play as 3 different characters that are of the fantasy genre: a warrior, an archer, and a wizard. And the game takes place on a 2-dimensional plane. Mostly, this is a platform game. Now, the interesting mechanic in this game is you can switch between any of your 3 different party members at any time, and each one actually has different abilities and different skills that help you play through the levels. Now, if you've played Trine, this is a lot like Trine or Lost Vikings. The difference between this game and those games is, in those games you actually had to use the various abilities of each character to get through the levels. In this game, I've gone through the entire thing, and in very few cases did I actually have to switch to one character or another to actually accomplish some puzzle or some jump in the level. Mostly, if you'd like to, you can just use one character all the way through, level up their weapons, and finish the entire game. So for me, that kind of actually took away from the gameplay a little bit, because they have this interesting mechanic where you can swap characters and you just don't use it. Aside from that, the gameplay mechanics are actually pretty good. It operates much like a regular platform game. You have jumping, you have attacks, and those attacks can be augmented through purchases in between each level, and the game gets relatively more complex and more difficult as you go. Unfortunately, the as you go part doesn't really last that long. There are only 6 chapters in the game, and there is a 7th survival mode chapter where you'll just get inundated with an infinite wave of enemies until you die, and then you rank in at the end, and you gain coins in each level, including the survival mode. The entirety of the game, chapters 1 through 6, will last you about 3 hours or so, and the survival mode is only minorly entertaining, and so you can say the game will be done in about 3 hours. Now, that's a little bit unfortunate because that's a pretty short game, but the game does only cost $2, and I think that still brings a decent amount of value for your $2. Aside from the brevity, the production values of the game are relatively high. The soundtrack is very catchy and fantasy themed, and the graphics are all very well polished, and even though the game takes place on a 2-dimensional plane, it's actually a 3-dimensional game with full 3-dimensional models and backgrounds throughout the game. Several times I actually kind of stopped and enjoyed the backgrounds of the game because I kept wondering, wow, this is a really well produced game for just $2. However, in addition to the brevity, I did have one other issue with the game, and that was pacing. This game, unfortunately, is relatively simple through about 80% of the game, and then when you get to the last level or so, it gets much more difficult. Particularly, the last boss is very much unbalanced with the rest of the game. I'm all for a really good challenge, but I think that this level of unbalanced was just a little bit on the frustrating side. Not so much to dissuade you from buying the game, because I think in the end, this one's a buyer. If you have $2 to burn and don't mind only getting 3 hours or 4 hours out of your $2, this one's a really fun game. Unfortunately, the brevity and the kind of unbalanced difficulty will weigh on you a little bit, so it's not a perfect game, but the amazing soundtrack, the great gameplay mechanics, the ability to upgrade and swap your characters and have all these different skins that you can buy, tons of stuff that you can buy if you want to, makes this one have some replayability and I think worth the $2. Check it out right now on iTunes and the Google Play Store for $2. I'm giving Evertales 78 pixels out of 100. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and until next time, this has been Pixel Freak.